Good afternoon, everybody. It is, what time is it? It's 10 after 3 on the 28th of January, 2026. It's Wednesday. And we got some snow. It actually looks beautiful out there in Minsk right now. A lot of snow coming up the last few days. I don't know what the temperature is. I've heard some snow falling off of the house, so making some bad noises, but you know how that is in these snowy places here. Today, it's strange, there's a foreign minister of Poland. He used to be a European Parliament member, and he kind of opens up his mouth and says the wrong things. There's some people like that, like Kaja Kallas or Ursula von der Leyen, but, she can pass it off. Well, Donald Trump, maybe all of us, I do too, probably. No, I don't do that. But this foreign minister, he's the same guy that he made that tweet, remember, back in 2022, it's September 20-something or other, in 2022, when the U.S. blew up the pipeline, the Nord Stream pipelines, both, I think, one of number one and one of the ones that's number two. One of them, I think, is still intact, and it's still full of gas, but Germany doesn't want to open it up, even though they have their big problems right now. Real brilliant. I think it's Alice Weidel. She's one of the top people in the Alternative for Deutschland party. She, of course, is calling for the resurgence of to get Russian gas. And I suppose she would want that pipeline to open up right away. I mean, that's a big saver for natural gas for Germany. Bring some of those prices down, but they want you to pay those prices. It's incredible. I don't know. I just can't believe Europe anyway. But this guy who's the foreign minister now, I guess after he said thank you USA after they blew up the pipelines, he tweeted that. It's like a couple of days later. It's like everybody's looking at what? And remember, Poland was the recipient after that pipeline was blown up. It's like the very next day, practically, the pipeline opened up that they were building from Norway to Poland. So then all of a sudden, Poland was a big recipient of natural gas being piped in instead of Germany getting the natural gas. So it's pretty strange, like saying, oh, wow, we just knocked out the competition just at the right time. I mean, you would think that that's what maybe is in their head. I don't know. But it's apparently not so much gas because you don't hear so much about it. But I'm sure that some of that is probably going to Germany as well. I don't know. I'd have to find out a little bit more about that. Don't even know the name of that undersea pipeline. So, but this guy's name, the foreign minister, is Radoslaw Sikorski. And he came out again, I guess, on X, but this time he really blew it, even more so. I mean, so that was a bungle what he did there. I mean, some people got to be careful what they're saying, I guess, on X. Luckily, I don't have X, so I can't shoot my mouth off, like Trump or something. But let's see it. Then he was a European parliamentarian, but this time he just put out, maybe it was yesterday or the day before, might have even been today, I don't think it was today, probably yesterday, and he put this out, a message to Elon Musk. He said, hey, big man Elon Musk, why don't you stop the Russians from using Starlinks to target Ukraine cities? Making money on war crimes may damage your brand. And Elon Musk, of course, saw that, and he tweeted back, but it's Elon Musk only said the bare minimum. There's a lot more I can add to it. He said, get this, he didn't tweet back to that person. He just answered the tweet. He said, this drooling imbecile doesn't even realize that Starlink is the backbone of Ukraine military communications. And that's all he said. And of course, you could add to that a few more little things. It's Ukraine uses the Starlink to target Russian cities. Ukraine is hitting civilian infrastructure using Starlink. Ah, really? And I don't think Russia, that's another point, is Russia probably can't even use Starlink. So it's Ukraine doing it. So this guy's all mixed up. And he's the foreign minister. He's the foreign minister of Poland. And I was thinking that Poland at least had some intelligence, and sometimes maybe they do. But it looks like maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe he's been hanging around with Kaya Kallas. It's really amazing. You know what? Is there an application I can fill out to be a foreign minister? Like Kaya Kallas is the foreign minister of the European Union, and she puts out a real bunch of stuff. And as Peskov just said the other day, he's the Kremlin spokesperson. He said that the United States and Moscow, well, say Washington and Moscow, or the Russians and the Americans, they don't even talk to Kaya Kallas. They're just waiting for her to leave because it's like, who in the heck puts people in these positions? It's like Baerbock, Baerbock, she did a few things, maybe pulled, what do you say, turned some tricks at the World Economic Forum, I guess, before that time. And I guess that got her a good position in Germany. And now what is she in? She's like, what is it called? President of the General Assembly of the United Nations or something like that. And it's like, I don't even, probably it's a nothing job. It's kind of like, technically you could say that like vice president of the United States is kind of a useless job. They don't have really any function. There is, look in the Constitution, I think their only role is in case there's a tie in the Senate, in the upper house, they are the tiebreaker. They cast the vote to decide, because there's 100 senators and it's possible that 50 could vote one way and 50 the other way. And to break the tie, they need somebody, and I guess that would be the vice president. Obviously they give them other duties. They run around and shoot their mouth off and say the wrong things and things like that. So I don't know. I think you can just hibernate for 4 years, and then, or at least when it's getting close and when it's time to run, if your other president has done 2 terms, I guess it's time. You can just wake yourself up and come out of hibernation and run for president yourself, even though you hadn't maybe possibly done nothing for 4 years. Makes you wonder if that qualifies you for being the president of the United States, from nothing to something, I suppose. I don't know. Well, Donald Trump, I think he wants to be even more busy than he actually could be. So that's why he's causing all the stuff. A lot of people are talking about, why is Donald Trump so aggressive and why is he doing all this stuff? Your guess is as good as mine. So in another strange act, there was some guy, well, it's not a big famous person at all, but there was a guy, and it was Ilhan Omar. She was giving, it looked like some sort of a town hall meeting. She's standing up in front like a podium, and it's not like she's up on a stage. She's like maybe level with everybody. So, and it was right when she was getting to the point where she said that Kristi Noem, the leader of the Homeland Security Department of the United States, she was saying that Kristi Noem needs to either resign or she will face impeachment. And right at that time, some guy comes up and shoots something. I guess it was a smelly liquid in a syringe, and he shot it at her. I believe he hit her. I don't know. Maybe she dodged out of the way. But anyway, they said it was a smelly liquid. And then, some security guys got this guy. But it's just a weird thing. And it wasn't even a bad thing that she said. But, see, a lot of people are calling for Kristi Noem's resignation. But, she looks good. I think she looks good. So I'll leave her there because I want to look at her whenever she comes on anyway. I'm just kidding. But no, she's just doing the bidding of Donald Trump, if you really think about it. It's like, why don't they impeach Trump? If, Trump is the one that's, in charge of her policy. And I don't know. So what can she do when 2 of these people are actually, I don't know how many were involved with Pretty's killing. One guy killed that Renee Good. And after the fact, what can she do? Can she bring Renee Good back to life or something? She can't do that. And but she probably did not, what's that word? Discipline this guy, the guy that shot Renee Good. And looks like, I don't know, maybe that's why these other people were so nasty with this Alex Pretty. So, but apparently somebody put out, I don't know. There's so much information and you don't know what is true and what isn't true. But it's, apparently he did have a gun, and it was some kind of maybe a Sig Sauer or something. And apparently they kind of have a deficiency or something where they easily go off, and it's not saying that his gun actually went off. I don't know if there's any evidence, and I haven't heard. And if it did go off, then they would have been using that and said, "Oh, he shot his weapon at somebody," even though everybody saw the entire incident on video camera. And yeah, I'll get to a little bit. You guys are probably thinking that somebody wrote a comment and they said, "Stop canonizing Alex Pretty." And I wasn't canonizing, but the guy was not a bad guy. As a matter of fact, there is no person yet that is anywhere in any news that says that he was a bad person or any kind of a radical or anything like that. So, I mean, that's mostly what I was saying, and the guy got shot and killed. And I saw the tape like everybody else did. And so what am I supposed to do? Demonize the guy and go along with all of the fake crap that the government is saying in order to justify the killing of this guy? No, I'm not going to do that. Okay, but let me keep going. Yeah, Kristi Noem, like I said, she's just doing whatever Trump tells her to do. Yeah, but there's a lot, like I said, when I first said that, right after, I think it was the next day or whatever, or I think it was one day, and then I don't know if you guys got that news because I didn't see it anywhere. So then I put it out, and I didn't get that many people to look at it. Maybe it was too new and nobody ever heard of the guy. Maybe I should have put some different kind of what do they call those, thumbnail or some. I don't even make thumbnails. I just leave the picture. Or what do they call it? The information to make people want to watch your videos. And I don't put that much time into that, unfortunately. And has anybody noticed? You have. So, but no, this. It's mostly all what's going on in the United States. It's the biggest problem, and it's all over in the news and everything is about this shooting of this guy, because it's to me it was even more extreme than this Renee Good. And this Renee Good, she wasn't trying to run the guy over; she was trying to get away. And I think you even hear her screaming or something in there. I don't know, a strange woman in a way. I'm not saying that's a good thing that they shot her, but she didn't deserve to be shot, especially 3 bullets in the face. I mean, that is. I mean, why didn't they just get her license plate number and go to her house and arrest her or something like that? Especially if they have it on camera or something. I mean, why in the I don't know. I don't want to get into it. So, but I saw a Nick Fuentes video talking about it, and Nick Fuentes, it's not really even worth watching the guy, but he was talking about the shooting, and he's as a lot of people have said, and there's some evidence, I guess, that points to that being the truth, is that Nick Fuentes is a one-man psyop operation. So he like runs a psyop, I don't know, in favor of Israel and the government. And he's real tricky on the Israel one. He acts like he is against Israel, but he says that he really likes Israel. I mean, he says all this positive stuff, but he says he doesn't like it. That doesn't really jive. Oh, this is great there, this is great, and this is great. Oh, I don't like Israel. Yeah. But no, Nick Fuentes, I don't know. He's got some problems of his own, obviously. Some people do, I guess. Like even presidents, as we all know, they get some kind of problems. So, but anyway, in this video, and it was some guy that was in support of Nick Fuentes, and I'm thinking, what, and everything he says, that nothing held water. So it's like he starts out good. Nick Fuentes starts out good. He presented some facts, and it was truthful, and it was put out very well. And I think towards maybe just before the middle of the video, he starts straying and he starts going off into assumptions and even giving fake facts that don't exist, such as this guy was masked. He wasn't masked. Alex Pretty was not masked. So, and no, he wasn't brandishing his weapon or whatever these things that Nick Fuentes was saying. I don't know. He probably even contradicted himself in the second half from what he said in the first half. Like I said, it's just not really worth listening to. But he did make sense towards the beginning of it. Yeah, assumption after assumption. And I don't even see, I didn't write it down because I tell you what, honestly, I don't want to watch the video again and write down some of his crazy assumptions. And, I would just have you guys watch video of the guy and you can see what he's doing. And unless, I mean, if somebody warns you ahead of time, it can't catch you unawares, I guess is the word, come and bite you on the backside or something like that without you knowing really what it's all about and how he does it. So I think he kind of, I don't know, I've said it maybe before about Nick Fuentes, sort of like a bait and switch. He lures you in by saying things that are true, possibly, or maybe that make sense and all that, and then he starts leading you astray and to steer you in a different way of thinking by the end of the video, I believe. People do that. Trump does that. It's a lot of people that do that. It's a psychological bait and switch. It's absolutely amazing. This stuff really, really amazes me, how they use the press and the media. I mean, and even the president. Donald Trump is his own press team, as you all know, with his Truth Social and all that. It's just absolutely amazing. And then they accuse this country of doing this stuff. And they don't do anything like that. Sure, I don't have very good Russian skills, but I can see it all in English. And most of the time, they kind of stay away from any of these sort of issues at all. But sometimes it comes out, and they just state the facts, really. It's interesting. And, and Lukashenko would probably say, well, I'm not going to go for that. That's about all it is about. In a way, I guess it's boring. The news is boring in Belarus because they don't have any big scandals or nothing like that. Not anything really big. They're just kind of little minor things, and it's like, it's just boring. Anyway. So, Nick Fuentes, yeah. But it kind of reiterates what I was saying, that, that he's kind of like a younger version of a Lindsey Graham. They both have their unattraction, I guess, to the opposite gender. And they both like to see a lot of violence and killing and things like that. Lindsey Graham likes to see, people in countries killed and on a mass scale, and then he acts like he doesn't, but he really does. Everybody knows that. It's just like, remember the old John McCain, bomb, 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 Iran, that kind of stuff. I don't know. These guys, Lindsey Graham, look at all of his top donors, and they're all military industrial complex guys. All these companies. That's why. So war is good for him. A lot of killing. So if somebody is not the enemy, Lindsey Graham can make them the enemy if he can see if he can squeeze some campaign money from them. Yeah. So, but even Trump is indicating very strongly, you can see that Donald Trump, he might actually have a sense of morality. He might actually do that because I think he saw these tapes of this shooting of this Priti. And I think he's getting a little bit tired of this. And I don't think he's falling for this when he probably found out some of the facts that this guy was an ICU, intensive care unit nurse at a veterans hospital. Donald Trump started thinking, oh. And then when he sees the video that this guy, he's never laying his hands on any of these ICE agents. He only grabs this woman to try to, and that's it. If anything, somebody should say, maybe the woman should say, he grabbed me very roughly and tried to take me out of the street and put me on the sidewalk. What a bad guy. But he never touches the ICE agents. He's just trying to get away from him, and he's hunkering down, and they're spraying him with pepper spray. And one guy starts, smacking him and many over and over again in the face, even though he never did anything. So, and then somebody pulls a gun, and they back up and start filling him with bullets. And that's another thing. I think, Donald Trump, I guess you would say that he realized, that was a boo-boo. And then, he's trying to cover for the ICE agents. I mean, I tell you what, I was in law enforcement, and that's what you do. You got to try to cover for fellow law enforcement people. And there is it's strange. It's like a I don't know, how do you say that? It's like a religion, and it even transcends borders. Like, I tell you what, when I was escorted around, I wasn't really arrested, but I was kind of detained, or whatever you would call that, in Moscow when I first came here. It's because, I don't know, it's a long story, actually. I had, I blew up a country. No, I had a letter originally from the ambassador, from Putin's ambassador in the United States in Washington, D.C., that says I am allowed to transit through the transit zone of Moscow on my way to Belarus. And it was signed by the ambassador. And when I get there, they said, nope. You have to have a visa for Russia. And I have a visa for Belarus, which is a strange thing, because that was the beginning of the Union State. And they're trying to say that it's something, we're changing things now in the Union State, Belarus and Russia, and this and that and the other thing. But, regardless of the fact that I had a visa for Belarus. And the argument that they are trying to say that since they're kind of a union now, Russia and Belarus, that they cannot let me leave the transit zone and I have to get back on an airplane and head all the way back to the Caribbean. And I don't even have a place to live there and anything like that, live on the street. Well, at least it's warm, but in the meantime, I found out that I didn't actually have to go back to the Caribbean. And there was a guy from KLM, it was, the Dutch airline. He was going around with me too. So these guys are trying to get me on a plane, when the next plane comes, and fly me back out of Russia. And, I found out that I don't have to go to Holland and then go back to the Caribbean. I could even just go to Holland. I got a Schengen visa as well. I could just stay there. But I didn't have to do that. So what happened was I was able to find a different way. So instead, I stayed in the transit zone. They have believe it or not, I think even in Minsk, they have these like little hotel things, little like very small room things that you can stay in, not very expensive really. So you can stay there. And I think I had to stay 2 nights, and then I can get on a plane, and I went to Istanbul. And then from Istanbul, it's like waiting around a whole day, and then get on a plane and go to Belarus. And they said I could do that. So I did that. And, but I could not go to Belarus from Russia. It's like, well, what? They're really strict on laws. They have to follow the law to the T. And even if I have a letter of permission from the man that Vladimir Putin assigned to be the ambassador of the United States, it wasn't good because the law said something different. I could have probably made a big stink afterwards. I couldn't do anything while I'm stuck in the airport, obviously, but I could have made a big stink afterwards, and I don't know. Maybe nothing would have happened. It would be very much like these guys. Maybe they're going with the protocol or what's supposed to happen, and they shot this guy. But it was a boo-boo. And Nick Fuentes, he said, it was an accident. He kept saying about 3 of, it's an accident. Yeah, it's an accident. Putting 10 bullets, bam, 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 shooting 10 bullets. It's an accident. I accidentally shot 10 bullets into this guy that wasn't even resisting. We weren't even arresting him, and he wasn't resisting in any way, shape, or form. But we accidentally put 10 bullets into him, pointed our guns, and backed up and kept pumping more bullets into him. That was an accident. Yeah. But anyway, this guy, this woman, she was brutally pushed on the street. An ICE agent, pushed really hard, and this woman fell over backwards, probably hit her head on the pavement or something, because the guy, he really pushed her over backwards, this ICE guy. And this pretty just was going and trying to pick her up and move her out of the way. And then they came after him and started pepper spraying him for helping the woman. And they weren't arresting the woman. They just were pushing her. So it's not like, he was hindering an arrest, which it wasn't an arrest. And they weren't even, it's just too much BS. And I think Donald Trump probably realized that. So anyway, that's what it was all about. And it's a huge backlash going on in the United States right now. So as you all know, and I am in favor of these ICE people, and I'm in favor of the operation. So don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I would never go there and do that kind of crap. I wouldn't be on the streets. I would say, hoorah. They're just getting, too messed up. And these 2 guys, or whoever, how many it was that killed this Alex Pretty, if they investigate them, I wonder if they have a record. I'll bet you that they have a record of violence. They probably did some jail time for beating people up and things like that. It looks like some people, they have that attitude. As a matter of fact, I've worked with people that had beat people up, and taken whiskey bottles and smashed them over the head of somebody and all that, and all that. Even here in Belarus, as a matter of fact, there's a guy that did that. He's done multiple things, and he's not even in jail. Oh, they're so cruel in Belarus. They're going to give you the death penalty. They do have the death penalty in Belarus, but this guy did that, and he's done a lot of things like that. But he's on a special program, like I guess there are a lot of those in Belarus. Rather than holding them in jail, this guy, he has to work. He goes to work, and then he has to go home. And I think maybe once a week or so, I don't know if he has any kind of these ankle bracelet things to say where his location is. I am not sure at all. But he's allowed, I guess, to go to the grocery store to go shopping or something like that at various times. I'm believing that is the case. Somebody had told me that. Or I don't know. Is he living with his parents? Maybe I got wrong information. But yeah, I had even a skirmish with this guy. And because he's lazy and all that. That was why I was working with him. And then there's another guy who beat up policemen. So he was in trouble, and he did time in prison. And I worked with him too. But he was a decent guy, a really decent guy. He loved animals. He had more compassion for animals than any of our team that I worked with. And, that's when I was working in the zoo. He was a huge guy. He used to be a weightlifter. I'd be big old huge arms and all that sort of thing. But I don't know. He might have did a year in prison or something. But anyway, like I said, there's people like that. But see, if you have something like that in your record, it can come back to haunt you, is what I'm saying. And if they do these background checks, which they probably didn't do in the first place on these ICE agents, they'll probably find that they got some violent behavior probably in their background. You could sense that by watching how that one guy pushed that woman. So yeah, they're poorly trained, and they were probably poorly screened. They probably needed a lot of people. And they said, well, yeah, violent. Well, the guy was smiling at him and said, oh, well, okay, then we'll accept you. And now instead of getting rid of Kristi Nayo, maybe somebody who let this guy, or maybe even two guys that pumped a bunch of bullets into this guy, maybe they're going to be disciplined. I believe I read, but you never know what's true, that one guy put one bullet into this Pretty. Maybe it was the first bullet. And then somebody else put the 9 other bullets in there. Probably emptied his gun. I don't know. Anyway, enough talk about that. So what else do we have here? In the Ukraine conflict, we keep hearing about the same prediction that Ukraine is about to break. The military, I've heard that, almost 2 years. Oh, they're just about defeated. Oh, they have to give up. They're losing all of this territory, And I was thinking, I look at the territory, I look at the map, and I don't have a map, or I've never seen one. Nobody has ever put one up to show where Russia was at one time, and then over 3-month periods to show how much territory is being liberated by Russia from the Nazis. But I have not seen one like that. But every time I look at the map, it looks very similar to the map as it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I don't know. From the very beginning, it doesn't look that much different. So I'm wondering, and we're hearing that they just liberated 500 square kilometers. So anyway, I don't know. They show you little maps of certain areas, and it looks like it. But I want to see the entire Donbass, and why don't they just show how much? And if it's not really that significant over a 3-month period of time, then use 6 months. So show us what it is this 6 months, and 6 months later, and 6 months after that. Yeah, why don't they show it to us? I don't know. Seems like Russia could do that. So, because a lot of people, I think, over here, they're kind of, well, what's going on? Why is this going so slow? Yeah, like I told you in one other video, some people are a little bit dissatisfied. So, yes, indeed. And I guess Zaporozhye. I guess they're making a lot of gains in Zaporozhye. If that's true, that's not in the Donbass. That's one of the other two oblasts, Kherson and Zaporozhye, that came on later. And Zaporozhye, of course, houses the power plant, the nuclear power plant. And it looks like there was an article that said Zelensky wants to, I don't know if this is true, he wants to talk to Putin. And, he's the one that he made a law that said nobody's allowed to talk to Putin. But of course now he has people talking to Putin, including Budanov. Well, not talking to Putin, talking to the Russians anyway. But I think he said he wants to talk to Putin, and it would be about the Donbass and the Zaporozhye power plant. So he I don't know what he wants. Maybe he wants half of the electricity from it, because I doubt he would be that stupid to say, I want the entirety of the power plant and I want this part of Donbass and all that. Of course, Zelensky, as you know how Zelensky operates, he wants it done before the media. And then he wants to make it look like Putin is some big bad aggressor. We were just minding our own business when Russia, Putin got up in the morning, he put his slippers on and he came and attacked us, and I wasn't doing anything. We weren't killing 14,000 Russians. I mean, we didn't do that. No, we weren't bombing all those ethnic Russians in Donbass. Oh, that was somebody else. And all the other. We didn't burn, what is it, 80 people in Odessa in the Union House. We didn't burn all those people. No, we didn't do all these other killings either. Because we're just nice Nazis. So anyway, somebody was saying that they might. I think it was somebody misread some information. I think, and they said they just about have all of Zaporozhye, and I don't know. I think you never know what to believe anymore. So even if it is, biased the way I want it to be biased, I'm not going to go for that. So many are saying, I told you guys this yesterday or recently anyway, that Vladimir Zelensky, he's hinting about a color revolution or a regime change, to be more specific, in Belarus. So he pretty much wants that. He's been talking about that a lot wherever he's going, talking about, and what is he trying to do? I don't know. And what is the operation? I said, he's got a cunning plan, as he probably does. So somebody put out that everybody's got their own theories, that he's very enraged about the Orishnik. And, they just destroyed that place in Lubov, and it was a repair place for F-16s, and they also built drones there to be launching against the Russians. And it was, I guess, it must have been a big place to use an Orishnik. So even though it's a pinpoint accurate missile, very, very destructive. So, but anyway, so I guess he's really pissed off about that. And it doesn't necessarily explain why he was so bitter in the World Economic Forum. It's a lot of other things. He didn't win his way with Donald Trump, obviously. So, but he probably does not. Somebody's alluding to the fact that he does not like the fact that this Orishnik is in Belarus, and Belarus is pretty close to Kiev, to the capital. So, obviously, like I said yesterday, he would be incredibly stupid to get another front in the war. So he wants Belarus government overthrown. He's not going to launch an attack on Belarus. That would be incredibly stupid. But so he's kind of scared, I guess, that this Orishnik, it could probably, I'll tell you what, if they launch an Orishnik, somebody could come and wake up Zelensky, and he might just about have time to get to the door before the Orishnik hits wherever it's aimed at. So he doesn't have much of a chance if it's aimed at him, which I probably won't be. Probably won't be. I didn't say it won't, but probably won't. Russia's not like that. It's not like, what is it? He doesn't have a Trump mentality or something, Putin. Okay, but there wouldn't be enough time. So, okay. And because of all of his talking, Zelensky going all over and talking about, actually he recently has been coming out now, he's been saying color revolution. So he's put it out. It's not going to be an attack. He wants a color revolution in Belarus. And he said, they almost had one, or they could have had one in 2020. And he said something like, I am sure, I think I did I write that down? I'm sure we'll have another chance, is what he said. But Lukashenko, it's not like he did not see some of these threats. So actually, on the very next day after Zelensky, I think, was mentioning regime change in Belarus in the World Economic Forum, I think the next day, Lukashenko had a snap readiness drill. So in other words, giving no notice to the military here and called it like an alert as if we're, it's getting attacked here. And they did excellent. They got an excellent rating on that. Congratulations, guys. So, but it's, like I said, it won't be an attack like that. It's something going to be a lot more sneaky. A very cunning plan is probably what he's, like I said, that's why I think I was saying that, what he's planning on doing. Wow. Yes. But I'm getting the impression that he thinks he's going to lead the color revolution. So he is going around making sure that he is the face behind the color revolution. He said it in the World Economic Forum. He said it in Lithuania. He said it in a couple places. He said like 4 places already. He's going around and proclaiming that Belarus needs a color revolution. So is he just trying to find volunteers or trying to send out a message for everybody to get ready and practice and get ready for your color revolution? Because he actually even said, I don't think I wrote it though. No, I didn't write it down, but he said that, I'm sure. I don't think I wrote it down. I was thinking, because that was I didn't write it down. So he said, I'm sure there will be another chance. So, which is he talking about like very soon here. I was going to put out in one video when I was talking a lot about some of these, the undercurrent here of, like there's some people in Minsk and I think mostly in Minsk. I don't think there's that much anywhere outside of Minsk of a lot of people because what they did, it's just like Brian Berletic put out in one video and it's just like what they did in Belarus, is they target people in the universities, the future leaders of Belarus, for a regime change at some point in time, because these people will gradually get into positions and they want them to be anti the present government. They want them to think of a different form of government. And of course, as you all know what it is, it's to be pro-European so that Blackwater can come in here and start snapping up. They'll get a pliant government here that will sell all of these, apartment buildings, thousands and thousands and thousands of them all over in Belarus for, a nickel on the dollar, actually. So the government will feel very rich. They'll gradually buy them, be selling off all of these apartment buildings. And so you're not going to be paying, this is a message to the Belarusians. You're not going to be paying 50 ruble or $50 average throughout the whole year for all of your apartment's bills. It's much less in the summertime. It might be $25 or $30 what you pay for all of your bills, your electricity, your water, your garbage, and your building maintenance and internet, all of that stuff. You probably pay 30 in US dollars and like $30. And you pay more than that just for your electricity bill in the West. And you guys that are anti-Lukashenko, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. So you might just get BlackRock and people like that coming and buying in all these apartment buildings and things here. Guess what's going to happen to your apartment costs? Your wages are going to go up. Sure, they will go up. And I promise you, they probably will. And you'll think, oh, cool, my wages are going up. But your cost of living here, even if you own your apartment, you're going to pay a lot more. If you're in the city of Minsk, you can actually bet you will be paying at a minimum $300, which is 1,000 rubles. So you'll be, instead of paying whatever it is in rubles you pay right now, you'll be paying much, much, much more. You'll be paying 10 times more. And it'll be going up from there. So, Merry Christmas, I guess I should say. So that's what you're going to get when you keep wishing to have it like Europe over here. And like me, coming from the West, I can tell you there's a lot of things here that are much better in the West. I mean, can you imagine you walking down the streets somewhere and it smells like urine and there's people shooting up drugs all over the place? You can't have your daughter or your wife go anywhere in the evening time, not even coming through a park, even if they're just 2 or 3 doors away from seeing their girlfriend when it's dark outside, because they might get raped on the way home. And that happens. That happens quite a bit over there. Hey, it happened even back in my days when I was in high school. You know, girls got raped and things like that. It doesn't happen in Belarus. Guess what's happening in Germany? And it's not allowed to be reported in the newspapers or on the news. Guess what? Yeah, guess what? Guess what's happened sometimes where you have a lot of men and one woman. And it's a fact. That's a fact. And some people have talked about it on YouTube, and of course they're deleted. And I've even known, when I met there was a firm next door to where this house that I had owned, which was not livable. But anyway, I lived in this house, and there was a firm next door, a security guy, and he was called out a lot of times because they are in demand. So he had his own little security business, and there's others because of a lot of this stuff going on. Migrants can come in and steal things from the shops. You're not allowed to arrest them. Things like that. I don't know how it is at this moment, if things got better, but it was not very nice, and this stuff is not allowed to be put. I don't know. There's a lot of things. You already know about what's going on in the UK. So it's like when I'm talking to you about the ICE people and all that, yes, I am in favor of what is going on. I'm in favor of these ICE people. They shouldn't be heavy-handed and pulling guns and shooting people. I tell you what, maybe too many of them have guns. That's one thing right there. Maybe they don't need to have guns. It's just really it's just too violent. That's what I'm getting at. But I am in favor of what the whole thing is. And yes, Minnesota, they are telling the people to go out and get in their way and cause havoc for these officers. That they're going to protect these murderers and rapists that are running around in their streets. I mean, it makes you wonder, so what the heck was these people? Do they like their daughters getting raped, and do they like to get robbed and murdered and things? I have no idea. I don't know how bad it is in Minnesota, to be honest with you, Minnesota. But if you look at somebody like, oh gosh, hey, isn't George Floyd? George Floyd is from Minnesota. Oh, what a coincidence. Oh, well, he was only a porno actor. Oh, no, that's not. But, hey, I don't care. He can go ahead and do it. That's fine with me. But he robbed people. And he sold drugs. And there's people that even write to me and say, how dare you? How dare you? Somebody put his knee on this guy's neck. He was just a drug dealer. He was just making a deal with somebody selling some drugs, probably to give to some kids in school. And he was minding his own business. I mean, the kids in the school, they want to take these drugs, so he should be allowed to be selling these drugs, shouldn't he? I mean, all this kind of crap. People, start to think a little bit, So I'm not going against these ICE people. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, George Floyd, and it is a known fact. In fact, look it up in AI. Look it up in AI even, and they will even tell you. When George Floyd, before he was on the ground and he had Derek Chauvin's knee on his neck, he was saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. You know why? Because he took a friggin' whole bunch of fentanyl. He thought he was going to go to the hospital. He's going to get away. Oh, I'm peaceful and be a nice guy. Go to the hospital, get his stomach pumped, as he did before, just about when he was getting caught. So he thought he was going to get away with it there. What he should have done, instead of this crowd hanging around him, he was thinking that maybe the crowd would take his side and he could get away and then go hurry up and get his stomach pumped or whatever like that. But he should have just told the officer, I just took a whole bunch and I need to get my stomach pumped, something like that. Sure, he would go to prison, but he'd be alive. Anyway. Yes, I have lately, I think I've got a lot of people on the left, maybe even some liberals. I'm kind of liberal myself, to be honest. I'm kind of in between. I'll tell you what, with my channel, I probably won't get way too many subscribers because I'm kind of in the middle. I'm a little bit to what people call the right, and I'm some ways to the left. No, I don't want children to get mutilated and get sex changed because God made some mistake or something and made a boy. He should have been a girl. I'm not for all that kind of crap. But I don't know. Too many people messed up, and especially in the United States. You guys got to realize over there, you're getting messed up with a whole bunch of psyops from the left and psyops from Donald Trump now. It's a bunch. Just start and think for yourselves. Think for yourselves, and don't let these clowns in the politics and wherever the heck, or take care of your brain. I thought for myself, and that's one reason why I'm in Belarus, because, and it is, I'll tell you what, it's so much better. Nobody's pulling this crap on you here. Sigh of relief. Okay. I don't know. I don't know if I have. Oh, I do have a little bit more. Yes, indeed. I saw in RT, just like what I was saying, when you notice Zelensky going around and talking about it. Wait, excuse me there a second. Like I was saying, I saw RT, and they probably saw my video. They said, Zelensky has set his sights on his neighbor, meaning Belarus, trying to overthrow the place here. And I was going to say also, there was I think back in 2020, around that time, I'm hoping I'm allowed to say this, in Belarus, because it was like, I didn't even know this. I was surprised. I think I heard this about, 6 months ago or whatever. But if what was happening in Minsk, at least, if you wanted to secretly find, because, everybody, how are you going to tell? It's not like you have, say, opposition or Lukashenko on your head or something like that. You can't tell who is where. And these people wanted to overthrow the government, and the United States was very much involved in it, and they have come out and admitted it on a few occasions already. They were trying to overthrow the government of Belarus in 2020. But apparently somebody had this idea that to contact or to identify other people in the opposition that also want to overthrow the government. If you're on the street, and in order to gather people, or maybe if there's a meeting or something somewhere, whatever they do, you're supposed to clap. Just out of nowhere, clap. Not that anybody's doing any performance and you say, oh, that's a great job or nothing like that. You can clap, of course, when that kind of thing happens. But if you're just for no reason at all and you're clapping on the street, that was made illegal. It's because that is an identifier to between people that are part of the opposition wanting to overthrow the government. So that's kind of an amazing thing. It's actually pretty ingenious, doing some clapping stuff like that. And they were thinking, they would never arrest anybody if we're just clapping, would they now? So it's actually really ingenious. But it shows how serious Lukashenko, when things get tough, the tough get going. And that is actually really something. So he thwarted that. It was against the law to be clapping for no reason on the streets. And it might even still be a law. Probably is. But like I said, it's like you have to live in Belarus. And it's like, why in the heck, why are these people doing this? Why do they want to, I'll tell you, it's the PSYOP. That's why it is so friggin' fascinating. And Brian Berletic was even talking about this. It is so fascinating that they can get people to get so, switched around in their heads that are living in a very good place. Their life is very good, even if they say it's not. And it's like, well, show me the evidence that it's not good. Well, come on, you can't believe it. They probably own their, I tell you, and this is the honest to God truth. I've seen people, they own their apartment. They have very, very good money coming in, very good. And they go to coffee shops. They go sitting at coffee shops at least 4 times a week. And they go to sports competitions. They have membership in a huge gym, and they go out to dinner very often, and they go into expensive places, having beers on the street cafes and all that sort of thing. And they even go on vacations, like to France and things like that. And yet they're saying how bad it is. And it's like, well, what do you have to friggin' complain about? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I'm and they're really pissed at Lukashenko, and they really hate him. And I'm thinking, where the heck does this come from? And then they have this fake history as well. They have this history, and they say, all of these things. I think Russia has done some attacks a few times, like at Poland or something like that. Or maybe even Finland. I don't know, maybe once or twice, but it's normally always Finland attacked Russia many times, and they wanted all of northern Russia. They did it many times. And Russia even said, okay, they took back one place. I think I've talked about this history before. And they said, you can have your complete sovereignty. We don't have anything to do with you. Just stay neutral. All we ask is that you stay neutral. And of course, Finland had to sign because they lost. They lost the war. They lost that in the war. And just stay neutral. You can be friends with us. You can be friends with the West. You can do anything you want to do, you know. And they were actually friends. And Russians would go there, you know, for tourism all the time. That was big. It was major. It was a major income for Finland. And then they shut off the, you know, when they joined the border, they joined the NATO, few ago, with Sweden, you know, and then they shut the border so Russians don't go there. So everything collapsed. All of the tourism collapsed along the border. And it makes you really wonder. So you have now you didn't even have to have any military. Nobody was going to go after you. Nobody. So now they have to put a lot of money into their military. They're losing money. And then they have to worry about going to war again. And Finnish, they got some very good soldiers. There is no doubt about that. They have a very good military compared to maybe, well, how do I say this? They're comparable. They're comparable to any of those other Western countries. So anyway, but they're still, when you think about it, Russia has all these missiles, and it was actually pretty dumb. And if Russia wants to invade, it would not be very difficult at all. I don't know. A bunch of stupidity. I don't know. Makes you wonder who had the goods on somebody. You know, there's a lot of time it's, you know, and that's like I told you guys about that before, and that's how a lot of people operate, and intelligence works, and how you do this. That's how the Israelis do this, is they even want people that have a weakness for little girls, little boys, money, sex, or whatever, some sort of a weakness. And how do they handle that? They give it to them. They give them what they want. And they want something in return. This person moves up the ladder. They put them into higher positions. They have other assets around. And Soros works this way too. And so they get them into these high positions. That might even explain why you have these idiots like this foreign minister of Poland. Maybe he has a very big liking for little boys or something like that. I don't have the faintest idea. And that's how he got there, even though he doesn't even know his own job. Or Kaya Kallas. I wonder if she likes little boys. But anyway, yeah, that's what they do. And they get these people in these positions, and they threaten to expose them if they don't do what they are told to do. That's not very difficult to figure it out, is it? So anyway, where was I at here? All these guys. Max Blumenthal, he put out something on the 26th, I just saw it. It was probably a longer clip, but I saw a small clip from it. And it was like put on the 26th January, a day or so ago. And he says Netanyahu wants he wants U.S. casualties. He didn't say Iran, but he meant Iran. He wants U.S. casualties, having to deal with Iran at least. He wants the U.S. to be bogged down in that region, so they will have to focus on his agenda, Benjamin Netanyahu, rather than, you know, anywhere else like Asia or Ukraine. He said Ukraine specifically. But, you know, it's the same thing with Zelensky. He wants the U.S. to be focused on his area. Yes, yeah, Max was probably right, of course. And Trump has admitted his top donor is Miriam Adelson. And I guess he said that in combination of all of the money that came to Donald Trump, she probably floated him $250 million for his campaign. That's absolutely incredible. Remember, Obama was the first president that was the first one whose campaign cost $1 billion. So Donald Trump's, I don't know, it's probably also around $1 billion. Maybe he put in some of his own. So, yeah, and Miriam Adelson, she's like an Israel first person on steroids in the United States. I mean, it makes you wonder. There's probably a lot of people that say, kick them out and make them go to Israel because they're actually all Israeli firsters. Yeah, Ted Cruz is the same way. Well, Mike Huckabee's there already, so he can just stay there. And I think that's a lot of things that a lot of people don't like, Candace Owens or Marjorie Taylor Greene, that we have these people that serve a foreign government in the United States, and a lot of time they have high positions in the United States government. And that's what Sybil Edmonds, I talked about her in one other video. She had exposed some woman senator in the United States who was working against the United States and for Israel. And they didn't even want to listen to her. The U.S. government did not even care. That they knew it. And she had all this evidence based in documentation, But they weren't interested. Probably because they know, probably because they are also pro-Israel. It makes you wonder. I tell you what, in America, and I've even heard, this is a weird thing. Let me tell you, this is a really weird thing that they have some sort of a plan for the future. This might even be coming out of the World Economic Forum, that they have this sort of a plan for the future where, and this is very weird. Have you ever heard of the Greater America? I think it's the Greater America thing, and it's just like Greater Israel, the Eretz Israel. And it includes Venezuela, it includes Mexico, Canada, Greenland, and it's all of that in the northern part. And I think it stops maybe at around Brazil or something. It might even include Peru. I was just glancing at some map. It didn't have the names of the countries on there. It just showed exactly where Greater America was supposed to be. And they want this type of a world. And the center of the world, it will be what do they call that? A technocracy, something where tech, everything is done by tech and AI and things like that. And you know where the center will be? You know where the capital of that world will be? Israel. Absolutely incredible. So Israel is going to be like the Washington, D.C. of the world, or at least maybe the Western world. I don't know, some of these machinations of these plans, but the strange thing is a lot of times these plans come to be, and we just have to hope it's not going to. Okay, yeah. So, like I said, the U.S. Zelensky wants the U.S. to focus on Ukraine, but he's crying. Trump, he doesn't like me anymore, I guess now it's time for me to give up. It's time. He should be singing to Trump now. Your lipstick on the coffee cup. No, that's Starmer and Macron and some of those guys. Trump, I don't think swings, but Zelensky, but I don't know. Anyway, so the Lincoln Carrier Strike Group has just arrived maybe a day or so ago, at least in the area they're in position, I guess, where they can launch lots of strikes, bombs and missiles and airplanes all over. F-18s, I guess, is what they have normally there against Iran. And, of course, they have F-22s in the area. And I think the F-22, some people don't say this, but everybody's talking about the F-35, but F-35 seems to be some kind of a boondoggle. It's not really ever working, and they're selling them to a lot of places. But apparently, I guess, at least as far as working airplanes, some people say that the F-22 is actually the best U.S. aircraft. And the F-16 is actually still formidable, but anyway, I think there's F-22s there as well. But I'll tell you what, with all of this excitement going on with Alex Pritty and Renee Good and all of this stuff in Minnesota, the ICE people, I guess there's some skirmishes in other places, such as, I guess, there was one in Texas, I guess, recently. But, the people in Texas, they're handling it a little bit better. But with all of that going on, we might even see a sort of a wag the dog, where, what wag the dog is. I guess that's in order to take everybody's attention off of like a local scandal in the United States, such as maybe this ICE stuff. They'll start something even bigger going, like a war in a different country, and everybody's attention will be looking at what's going on over there. It's very possible. But a lot of people are pretty pissed off at Donald Trump. I think in Wag the Dog, and they even used that in against Clinton. They were saying that Clinton was doing Wag the Dog or something back in those days. But it would normally work a lot better if Donald Trump didn't have so many, what do they say, irons in the fire. He's after Venezuela, he's after Greenland, he's after this, he's after that. And there's even, you can't even believe this, there's even talk about future regime change, not Cuba, Cuba's there too, but even in Iraq, So he said, he's hinting at regime change, he wants a regime change in Iraq. I don't know I can't remember exactly how he was framing that, but this al-Maliki, who's the leader of Iraq right now, he said, he responded to it and he says, no, I'm going to stay right where I am for the remainder of my term. So it's just like this Petro in Colombia. He's gone anyway in 3 months. So Donald Trump's not going to overthrow Colombia. So you don't have to worry about that. Even the cocaine laboratories. But I'm sure that Donald Trump is going to do everything he can to put his candidate in there. Yeah. Wow. Meanwhile, Jolie, the leader, the former Al-Qaeda leader or commander who now is in charge of Syria, and Donald Trump loves the guy. Makes you wonder if Donald Trump had something to do with it. Obviously he did, So Al-Qaeda has always been working with the United States. Hillary Clinton even admitted it. It's not like they were out to get Al-Qaeda. But there's people probably also that are watching this video that don't even know that. I mean, they still think, we are trying to get Al-Qaeda. We are out to get Al-Qaeda. No, not even ISIS. And there's just way, way, way too much evidence. ISIS and Al-Qaeda, if it's news to some of you, they were proxy militaries for the United States. And I don't know. Normally, I would have to follow that up and give you some evidence about that right now if some of you are just kind of new in the truth movement. But if you don't know, write in the comments that you want some sort of proof, and I'll say it in the next video. If there's anybody out there that is not awakened. I'm not saying woke. I said awakened. So weird. Well, you have to talk in the United States, so yes. Anyway, it looks like there's also, like I was saying before, like Canada is pivoting to China. And there's a pivot, the United States was pivoting to Asia, remember, but they meant with war. They wanted to start bringing war to Asia. So Obama, that was during the Obama time, send more ships over there and said, well, China's getting too rich, so we got to mow the grass. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's an Israeli term. I can't use an Israeli term when they want to, destroy countries. I mean, put them back to the Stone Age, or at least halfway to the Stone Age, get them kind of close. Mowing the grass, they call that. And that is what they say in Israel, to mow the grass. And, but the United States, I don't know. It hasn't worked that well with China yet, apparently. But who knows what's happening right now. But Donald Trump is the one responsible for this tectonic shift. And it actually might be a tectonic shift. And it looks like it really is. So a lot of the economy, like I said, of Canada is shifting over from China. And the EU has big time shifted to India. Of course, they're not going to look at Russia. Not now. But I tell you what, Robert Fico, the leader of Slovakia, said that very soon, as soon as this is over between Ukraine and Russia, he said there's going to be investment, people breaking their legs in Europe, rushing into Russia. Rushing into Russia. But they're going to be breaking their legs to get investments into Russia. Then, of course, now they're the evil Russians and all that sort of thing. But that's not it. What do you think about the UK? As you know, the UK, they have it's similar to the Nazis in Ukraine. They have something that it's ingrained. It's not ingrained, it's just an indoctrination into hating the Russians. So they're heavily indoctrinated, the government at least. I don't know about the people. The people actually, they do their job, they go to work and all that sort of stuff. Some of them watch the news and maybe buy into this demonization. Maybe some say, well, that might be true, and maybe they're just not quite, like the Skripals, The Russians poisoned the Skripals. And of course, obviously that didn't happen. And they hid the Skripals. They grabbed the Skripals and they hid them somewhere. I think somebody is even thinking that the Russians got the Skripals, but that's not true. So nobody's allowed, as you all remember, to interview the Skripals. If you guys don't remember that, they said that the Russians, two guys the Russians say it was two gay guys. Maybe they went and looked at some cathedral in Salisbury or something. I have no idea wherever the Skripals were at. And when they were questioning them, I think these people made it back to Russia in time, and they were asking them, and they acted like they didn't even know. They didn't know anything about what the heck is going on. But they were the ones that were supposed to have done the poisoning with Novichok, even if Russia has no Novichok, but Ukraine makes Novichok, but Russia doesn't. That's really strange, isn't it, huh? Anyway, but that's a different story. But Great Britain, maybe he took some bum boys. Maybe he went Starmer went to get some bum boys over there, his Ukrainian bum boys there, these models, that he had a little bunka 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 with, and he didn't pay him apparently, so they destroyed some of his property. They were sent over by Zelensky apparently personally, recommendations. They were male models in Ukraine, and bunka 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 with Starmer, and he maybe thought Zelensky was supposed to pay them, so he didn't pay them apparently, and they got pissed off, or maybe he didn't pay him enough. Anyway, so they were damaging his property, and that was a big scandal, as you know, not that long ago, but it's don't talk about that. Yeah. So, but Starmer, he's pivoted to China himself, because they're thinking maybe we can't trust the United States, Maybe not. I don't think you can you? Strange to hear that from an American, isn't it? Unless you're Lukashenko, maybe, and there's a invisible kind of a wall there. It's like an iron curtain. I don't know what kind of curtain. It's an invisible curtain, maybe manned by an invisible Russian and Chinese ships or something like that. So Trump, I don't know, but he's. I'll tell you what. I don't know that Trump wants to do a lot of this hanky-panky because I think he did a lot of damage to U.S. aid, and I'm thinking U.S. aid is still involved in espionage activities. Of course, they were very much responsible for what happened in Ukraine and the overthrow of that government back in those days in 2014. And they were really trying over here. They had a lot of things going on in Belarus, but a lot of that was through, also with Radio Liberty and the Voice of America and all that sort of thing. They were working on it here in Belarus. Luckily, it didn't work. So we're still free. So Zelensky probably wants to come and liberate us because we're already free. You know how that is from the West. It's like, I guess it's all a matter of perspective. Okay, so Starmer is pivoting to Asia. So he went over there. I think he's there now. He's got over 50 big business leaders, and they're looking to, cement something probably like Ursula von der Leyen did with India, when she did this, when there was at their kind of Independence Day sort of a deal, and trying to repeat it. So that is really incredible. Okay, well, that's about all I have. We just have to wait to see what's going to happen, and it might take months. Maybe it'll never materialize, but I'm just all in anticipation to see how Zelensky's cunning plan works out to enact regime change here in Belarus. But I'll tell you, they're pretty good here. They know. I think intelligence people are pretty good here. They pretty much know what's going on. They probably know things before Zelensky even thinks about them. So anyway, that's all I have today for everybody. And thanks for joining me. And it's over an hour. Sorry about that. A lot of people don't want to stick around for that long. I don't most of the time, either when I watch videos. But other people aren't as handsome as I am, right? I'm joking. Okay, thanks for joining me, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.